Okay, everything's working. All right, welcome back to another Powerhouse Leaders podcast, where we are focused on enhancing the world and each other by striving to lead as our most excellent selves. I'm Stephana Johnson. I'm the Chief Energy Officer here, and this is our first episode of 2022. Super excited. Actually have a special guest today, as you can see or hear soon for those podcast listeners. But we're going to find out about how we can be our most excellent selves and run most excellent businesses through our branding and how our website speaks to our customers. I'm excited to be introducing my guest soon. But before I do that, I want to share with you that I have a 2022 goal getting and habit stacking workbook that you can grab for free for a limited time. That's at stephanajohnson.com, goal getting habit stacking. I'll put that in the show notes as well, but that is a free guide. It is so awesome. It is a workbook with some planning action sheets that will take you through the entire year and keep you on track to build some awesome habits to achieve your goals. All right, I'd like to introduce you to Lyons. She is a powerhouse business owner who helps small businesses ignite their brand on the World Wide Web. Welcome, Lori.
Thank you, Stephana. I'm so excited. This is a great way to kick off the year. So thank you for having me.
Super excited. So one of the things that I want to share with our listeners, viewers, is that you and I are peers in a business mastermind type of group. And I think that this is something that any leader, anybody who is a business owner can relate to, is you're in some kind of group that is collaborative, that is creative together, and it really helps to foster this kind of energy of being more excellent ourselves. And this is why I love doing these interviews with people like Lori, because we are in this place of really supportive energy, really collaborative contribution type of energy. In fact, that's my word for the year, as opposed to competitive or competing or what. Oh, she's better than me, or what, that kind of thing. So really take that to heart as we go through and listen to what Lori has to say, because this woman is amazing. And I've seen the work that she's done on the web for people, and it's significant. I think that if you don't have a website, it's clear that you're not really in business. So I'm going to ask you right off, Lori, what would you say is your overarching mantra or motto, or maybe a quote that you just live by?
Good question. You're starting them out hard. There's a couple of things that I live by. The first thing that I live by is don't make it hard, don't make it complicated, and don't make it confusing. And that applies to a lot of things in life as well as business, because I think for a lot of business owners, we just make it too complicated and we make it hard. And to me, I love the business of business, and I think it's fun. And I think there's just so much that you can do with it, especially when it's your own. There's no limits. There's no expectations, just your own, what you want to do with your business and your life and your own goals. And I love your lead magnet. I was writing it down while you were talking. I'm like, ooh, I'm going to grab that when we're done. So yeah. So that's one of them. And I laugh and I say Marie Forleo stole mine because I'm older than she is. So I can claim this first, because she wrote a really good book called Everything is Figure Outable. And that's kind of the way I feel too, that if you sit and you step back and you take a look at your business and your life and the things that happen in your world, you can figure out some of the stuff that goes on. It may not be what you had in your mind, and it may not be what it's gonna, what you thought it would look like, but if you figure it out, or you fix it, and and you think outside the box, which I hate that expression, but so to speak, if you get creative, then there's always a way that you can work solutions and problems.
Yeah, I think that's so spot on. I love it. Don't make it hard. Don't complicate things unnecessarily. I think that that's probably a lot of the mistakes that business owners make, is that they complicate things. And in terms of, I love it that you brought up everything's figure outable. Yeah, I mean, that's been around. It's like there are unlimited possibilities for ways that things can go. And we've kind of gotten into this stuck thinking of it's either this way or that way, or there's only one way. And what's so exciting about, and I want to know your take on this, over the last couple of years, we've all experienced what we've experienced on the earth, and what's going on with the human race, and whatever that you want to call it. I have my personal views, and then I have my professional views, knowing what I know as a researcher and understanding the things that are going on that have been made to be very complicated. And we've forgotten about us being humans. And the whole point of us being humans is that we evolve and we get better. And so if we keep trying to solve the same old problem, we're not going to evolve. And as humans, that's what we do. That's the whole point. So somewhere along the lines, we might have forgotten that. So this is interesting when we come to the website piece, because I think if we go to the Wayback Machine, right, and you go back, I've got like websites that I probably have done over 100 websites over the past 20 years, right? So talk to us about how in terms of branding for ourselves and really how we can lessen this complication that does happen when we're trying to figure out how to put our website out there, how to put our message out there. What kind of branding? Where can we start? What should we do there?
Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces to that question. So what I tell my clients is, let's take it back to basics, and let's take it back to a website. And I am a little non-biased, but I do tell my clients that really your website is the basics and the foundation for your marketing. And that can look a lot of different ways. Websites for small businesses aren't these huge bazillion page monstrosities that they used to be. Now it is what a website does is makes you authentic. It authenticates and validates your business. It tells people that you're around and that you're working and that you are a valid business. It tells people who you are in a sense of it gives the full story. And what I tell my clients is, social media is the soundbite. Your website is the full story. So, and I liken it to, I'm going to make a cake. If I want to go get the ingredients for a cake, I'm going to do I want to go to one store and buy the flour, one store and buy the eggs, one store and buy the sugar, and one store to buy whatever else the vanilla? Or would I rather go to one store and buy all of it together? So if you're depending on social media totally for your marketing, you're essentially asking every one of your future clients to go to a different store to find out a little bit more about you, because you're not getting the full story on any one social media. But if you give them bits and pieces on social media and then drive them to your website where they can see all of who you are, then that's a great way to work that together. Excuse me. So if I want to know about you, do I want to have to go to your LinkedIn profile and your Instagram profile and your Facebook profile and go to all of those different places? But what I can do there, and how I can brand myself there, is I can say that this is who I am as a person. This is what my cats look like. We have 2 cats named Buddy and Holly. I talk about my cats. I mean, that's part of who I am as a person, and it relates to me as a business and makes me authentic. And, cat people relate to it, dog people relate to it because you're an animal person. But on my website, I don't have anything about that because it's all kind of going back to my business. So it's the way that you integrate it and work it in together, so it all flows seamlessly.
I love that. So it really is making you more credible. It's about credibility, and it's also about being consistent across your messaging, but with your website housing uh, the place where they're going to stop and shop, and they're
Right.
going to get what their
Right.
needs met. I love that. So let's look at, I was peeking around at your bio and your website, and I love how the biggest thing that stood out to me was the photographs of you. I mean, on the front cover, you have you sitting at your laptop, I guess, and on this beautiful, like this, all the colors in there. And then you're there with cute little bare feet crossed over and so comfortable. So I felt immediately from that one photograph, I didn't even read yet. I hadn't read anything. I felt that this woman is fun and I want to get to know her. She's real. She's personal. And I like her. So now that was because that's something that's attractive to me. I like, I walk around in bare feet and I love the colors and the textures that you had. It's like, okay, let me read what she actually has to say here. And then I read what you had to say and I really loved it. I was like, oh my gosh, exactly. This is what I need. And so as I rolled down a little bit more, I noticed a few things about, you were a teacher before. You've done a few different things in life, but you had a life that was not as complicated as what happens when you're in a small business. Tell us how you what led you to your specialization?
Kind of by accident, because I was a teacher, and that was years ago, when my salary was $8,934 for a year. so, so, yeah, so but I did leave teaching and I went into a field that was marketing. And I'd always kind of been interested, and I always had a design eye. My parents were both artists, not sellable artists, but they played. My mom was an art major and an art teacher. So, I've always had that fun and that, that creativity part of it. And so when I left teaching, a couple of jobs later, and I ended up meeting my husband. He was my sales rep. We dated long distance, moved to New Jersey, and and that's where I started my own business. I worked for a company for a couple of years and finally said, why am I paying this person 50% of my profit? And really all he was doing was handling my receivables. I thought I can do that. So like literally the next day I started my business, and that went on for a good 15 years. Now I sold marketing packaging. And while I was working my business, this thing called the internet started up and became more popular. And eventually everybody had it. In about 2006, I realized that, people weren't buying custom binders anymore, or custom folders or VHS holders. They were all on the internet. So I kind of had to sit back and say, what is my business going to do? And, at that point I was just like, I'm kind of tired of this. I'm ready to do something different. So I bounced around for a couple of years. The recession came along, the 2008, 2010, sold print, did a couple of different things. And then I landed with a digital marketing company, which the funny thing was I didn't even know. I had email, but I could barely open a computer. It's, I am not the most technical of people. And so I talked myself into a job and realized, because I was an account manager, and I realized that if I kind of learned a little bit about a website, so if you called me as a client and said, can you change the year from, 38 years in business to 39 years in business, then I could do that. And so I started teaching myself a little bit. And I often laugh and I said, if it's on YouTube, you can be an expert at it. So between YouTube and WordPress for Dummies, I taught myself a lot. Fast forward a couple of years, and in 2013, I was laid off for not being technical enough. And I'm like, hold my beer. And I started doing websites for my friend because I had learned along, but I was always viewed as not technical. So nobody ever really realized how much I was learning. So I had a friend of mine that I went to high school with that said, hey, I need a website. Are you interested? And I said, well, I've never built one by myself before, but if you're willing to be patient, I'll be happy to do it. And not only did I do a website, but he paid me. and he's still a client to this day. And then another friend and another friend, and that kind of how it came about. So it really truly happened by accident. And after about a year of being in business, it was like, I'm really glad the path came this way because I love what I do. It really, brought together all of my, everything that I was good at, all my superpowers, if you will, came into play with this. And the technical stuff that I don't either want to know or, don't know how to do, I have people that do that. So it all works.
Yeah, I so love that. And I love hearing journeys like this of how we get to where we get, because it's so different than what we think. We all imagine someone else, oh, they always had it figured out, or it was always this. So this is wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Now that you're into this world, 2013, moving into this, you're getting paid and you have your own business, you're leading, employees now and leading teams. Share with us a crucial early mistake.
My crucial early mistake is probably one that a lot of business owners make, which is not bringing in your team early enough, because you always say, well, I can't afford it, or, well, I don't do this, or, well, I'm not sure about this. And for me, it was a highlight or a aha moment when a business coach, we were talking about it, and she said, make a list of all the things that you do for every day. And you give away the things that you don't want to do, because, I'm thinking, but I really enjoy this. I really enjoy this. I really enjoy this. It's like, well, hello, you do the things that you're not good at or you don't want to do. And you bring that person on to support and to complement what your weaknesses are. And so that's what I think a lot of business owners do, is they wait until it's too late to hire or bring somebody on. When you're working and you're burning yourself out because you've got so much to do, and then you get to the point where you don't have the time to bring somebody on effectively because now you're past that point. So I think that was my biggest mistake, is not bringing on somebody. I probably should have brought somebody on 6 months earlier than when I did. And even today, 3 or 4 years later, I still have to step back and like reset and say, okay, quit doing this. You gotta let go of this, because I do tend to, kind of bring it back in, and I have to constantly push it back out again.
That's really helpful. Okay, go to that moment 6 months earlier when you didn't realize you needed to bring someone in, but at that point where you brought someone in, you're like, oh, I wish I had done it 6 months earlier. Where were you at that 6 months? What was happening specifically? And then what I'm trying to get at is, how can someone in it kind of weave their way out? You gave us a little bit of make a list, give away the things that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
But can you hone this in a little bit more, especially because I know you have real firsthand experience on this. So for someone who's a leader, maybe a business owner, they haven't delegated, they haven't done that. Give us that moment that if you would have been who you are now, coaching that woman back at that moment of the 6 months earlier, what would you say? What would you see her doing that might help or trigger someone who's listening to this to recognize in themselves, like, oh, that's where I'm at. This is what I need to do, ABC.
Yeah. Good question. I think for a lot of business owners, it is the you're working all the time. And I think that we get into this mindset of, well, that's kind of the stereotypical feeling or the stereotypical look of today's entrepreneur. You work 24/7, you work 7 days a week, you're a workaholic, you're this, and it doesn't have to be that way. It's and I'll piggyback onto that, because not only was I working a lot and burning myself out, but I wasn't charging enough money either for my services. So you combine that with, probably making 35 cents an hour at the time, because I definitely wasn't charging what I should be. You start, adding that to the fear of, okay, I need to increase my prices. Well, what if I increase my prices and then I lose all my clients, or I don't get any more clients, or but what you find happens is you get a different level of client. You get a different level of client that works within your system, and you get a system. So you raise your prices, and you also really start working on process within your business so that you can turn things over. And that's something, honestly, to this day, I still struggle with process, because process is always changing, especially in the technological world. There's always new things that coming in. So it's something you always have to step back and reset, is the process that you're going through, because it could be different next week. But with looking at your task and looking at what your company does, and onboarding your team with all of your operating procedures and planning for that, and it's something as simple as I was doing something the other day, and I thought I really should start documenting this, because this is something I'm going to turn over to somebody. It was kind of a new thing for our team, and I was playing around with it. I thought, all right, now I got it. Okay, now I need to sit down and document this, because this would be an operating procedure or a procedure manual for somebody new to take this over, and then I don't have to sit there and train them. So hopefully that makes sense. But you start documenting your processes early before you have to start doing it.
Yeah, and I think that's we could just go off on this whole thing on each topic you just brought up, but for sure, I love that you said you've got to increase your prices. You've got to charge more, because you're now there's more going on. So you have to look at what's your margin. If you're now paying someone, there has to be a margin there. And these are, what's that?
And I was going to say, I saw something the other day, and I can't remember where I saw it, but they were talking about, you have 2 invoices outstanding. You have one for 5,000, one for 50,000. The person who you're, sending the invoice to 50,000 is going to say, okay, here's your check. How do you, it's in the mail. Whereas the $5,000 client is going, well, can you tell me more about this? Can you define this? Can you, blah, 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 blah? Because it's, when you're getting that higher level client, they're used to paying for those services. And so if you're not charging enough, the type of client that you're getting is asking a lot more questions and taking a lot more time and needing a lot more hands, because it's a bigger part of their budget.
Yeah. Okay. That totally makes sense. That's really an important concept, and something really important for business owners to look at, for sure, if they're a small business owner. Really, really helpful, Lori. So a couple of things you talked about. I love also that you said, you were forecasting the planning and looking at, okay, you're already thinking things differently with this concept now of processes, that knowing your business is operating best off of processes. So you're already starting to plan and put down the system in place, because you're going to delegate it. So now you have a whole new operating basis as a business owner, how many years later, 7, 8 years later, which is really important to know. And this is what I talk about with regards to goals and anything, but specifically I'll bring up the goals getting and habit stacking action plan that I created. It was specifically based on this concept of reflection. And that's why I like hearing this, because you're reflecting back from a different place, but you're able to get and garner incredible knowledge and experience from your past, rather than it being something that broke you.
Right.
It's not a mistake. It's a mistake, and you get to take another one. And so I love that. Thank you so much for such good insight. What would you recommend as your favorite book for someone? And let's stay with the small business owner, the up and coming business owner, leader, that you would suggest. Favorite book?
I'm a big reader. So, and last year my goal was to read 52 business books, and I made 47. I just missed it. So, but that's okay. That's okay. I have 2. And they're 2 very different ones. The first one that I love is, I love anything by Mark Schaefer. It's Schaef. I think it's 1 F. And he's got a book called Known. It's a couple of years old, and he talks about how to get yourself known as a business person in today's marketing world. And even though it's a couple of years old, it's still very valid because he talks in high level topics, not specifics. But he talks about, how to become an influencer, how to get your name out there. And you don't have to be a Tony Robbins to do it. You can be Lori Lyons or Stephana Johnson and, become known through his works. And he's also funny. I mean, he's a fun read. He's very conversational. And so I do enjoy him. The other book is Donald Miller's Story Brand. It is for every business owner that does marketing. The way he talks about content and the way he talks about how to set up your story and how to set up your marketing and how to set up your content is really amazing, because he talks about the hero and the guide and the villain of the story. And, we tend to think of ourselves as heroes, but we're not. We're the guides. Our customer is the hero. And so reading through that I always recommend that to my clients as well.
Brilliant. I love those. I've never heard of Mark Schaefer, and I can't wait to get known. So excited. Donald Miller
really
loves Story Brand.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one. So I'll make sure that those notes and links are in the chat. Or not in chat, in the show notes. And fantastic. So good. Such good content, such good information. I mean, I enjoyed this.
Well, good. I did too. Thank you.
Yeah. So as we wrap up, leave us with anything. First of all, how can people reach out to you? How can people contact you? Share your information.
Sure. Yeah, my website is ignitingyourbusiness.com, and everything that you need to contact me is on that. And I also can I give a gift? Can I give a little link? Yeah.
Well,
if you want more, right there on the homepage of my website is 5 website mistakes that you might be making. And it's right there under that. It's under my bare feet. So you can always sign up for it there. And I'll send you the checklist if you're interested in that. But everything is right there on my website. Just hit my contact page, and all of my social media is there. Everything. It's the easiest way.
Absolutely brilliant. I'm so excited. So ignitingyourbusiness.com. Love it. Lori Lyons, thank you so much for being my guest today on Powerhouse Leaders Podcasts. We are excited I'm so excited to share this with the world. And again, we are live streaming through I send this live streaming through my Facebook. So sometimes I just go over and check and see if anyone has any questions. We just had someone, Bina, it looks like Bina said, thanks a lot. And that's awesome. So I don't see any questions in here, but it's sometimes fun to have a couple of questions. Let me just check.
Sure.
See if anyone else. Okay. Couple of people have liked us and said, and enjoyed it as we're streaming, but I didn't even announce that, hey, you guys could ask questions live, because sometimes that's really fun. I'm going to start doing that because the interaction is super fun. Lori, this has been fantastic. Thank you. Stay on for just a moment. I'm going to end the live stream, and I'll be right back.
Sure.